He was North Korea's youngest and most elite Agent Handsome, with a lethal efficiency. Not long ago, Dae-ho transferred to a high school in South Korea. He'd barely finished introducing himself before his classmates erupted in laughter. His name, Dae-ho, sounded old-fashioned and, well, dorky. Even his homeroom teacher seemed to think so, relegating him to a desk in the back corner, completely unaware that this transfer student wasn't there for academics, but to maintain his cover as a North Korean operative. His father had tragically died on assignment, passing the torch of this southern mission to his son. Initially, Dae-ho aimed to blend in, embracing the student persona. But as soon as school let out, a group of bullies cornered him. They weren't just looking to haze the new kid. They were shaking down a classmate, Hyenin, for protection money. They shoved Dae-ho, testing his resolve, but he tried to ignore them. Their leader, Eun-tae, took the perceived disrespect personally and challenged Dae-ho to a rooftop showdown. Upon the roof, Eun-tae didn't waste any time, landing a punch straight to Dae-ho's face. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but to protect his true skills, Dae-ho chose to endure. Eun-tae, relentless, continued to taunt him with insults. Dae-ho, however, maintained his composure. One of the goons frisked him, finding his wallet and handing it to Eun-tae. The sight of so much cash in the dorky kid's wallet surprised and excited them. Eun-tae then pulled out a photo from the wallet, a picture of Dae-ho with two other people. They were his father and younger sister. His father was gone now, leaving only him and his sister. With a cruel smirk, Eun-tae mocked Dae-ho's sister's appearance. This struck a nerve. His sister was his weak point, but he fought to contain his emotions and retrieve the photo. He sternly warned Eun-tae to take the money and leave it at that. Eun-tae, enraged by Dae-ho's defiance, lunged at him again. Luckily, their homeroom teacher arrived just in time to defuse the situation. Not wanting to cause further trouble, Dae-ho pocketed the photo, but the incident cemented Eun-tae's hatred for him. The next day in class, their pragmatic homeroom teacher demanded all cell phones be handed in, threatening a beating if anyone was caught with one. When some students disobeyed, he punished the entire class, making them stay after school to clean the windows. As the other students were leaving, Eun-tae and his crew pulled a stunt, allowing everyone else to go home while keeping Dae-ho and Hyenin behind. Despite the injustice, Dae-ho silently endured. While cleaning, Hyenin stole glances at him, a flicker of warmth in her heart for the new transfer student. For Dae-ho, however, his mission remained paramount. That night, upon returning home, he received a package from his organization. His next assignment: eliminate a North Korean traitor. This traitor, codenamed Dipper, had been systematically assassinating fellow North Korean operatives in hiding. Dipper was highly skilled and notoriously ruthless. Eliminating him was a top priority. Receiving his orders, Dae-ho sprang into action that very night. Following the organization's instructions, he first visited a lottery shop run by a fellow North Korean. Upon entering and uttering a coded phrase, the shopkeeper immediately understood. He expertly printed a lottery ticket and handed Dae-ho a burner phone. Dae-ho followed the next set of instructions, leading him to a bakery. He pretended to be a customer and, after reciting another coded phrase, the baker instantly recognized him as an operative. Without a word, the baker handed him a pre-prepared cake. Dae-ho, barehanded, retrieved a disassembled handgun hidden inside, loaded it with the provided 30 rounds of ammunition, and reassembled it. The next day, during his lunch break at school, Dae-ho went to the designated rendezvous point. As the door opened, Dae-ho wasted no time. He easily overwhelmed the boxing gym owner with a flurry of swift and precise movements, leaving him bruised and defeated. Unwilling to accept defeat, the gym owner tried to grapple with Dae-ho, setting the stage for a brutal confrontation. In the next instant, Dae-ho effortlessly countered the gym owner's attack with a series of fluid movements. He grabbed the man's hair with one hand, twisted, and slammed him to the ground. But Dae-ho didn't finish him. Instead, he pressed for information on Dipper's whereabouts. The gym owner initially tried to stay silent, but Dae-ho didn't hesitate to fire a shot into his leg. "This is what happens when you're stubborn," he said coldly. He pressed again, emphasizing that this was the gym owner's last chance. Under the threat of the gun, the man finally broke, revealing that a pork butcher had met with Dipper. As he spoke, he subtly shifted his position, feigning cooperation but actually looking for an opportunity to strike back. He grabbed a nearby chair and swung it at Dae-ho, then reached for a fruit knife, intending to finish him off. But Dae-ho, having obtained the information he needed, swiftly reacted. A single, well-placed kick neutralized the gym owner. This marked the first time Dae-ho had taken a life. The overwhelming guilt gnawed at his conscience, but he buried his anguish deep inside. With the clock ticking, Dae-ho returned to school that afternoon. He walked in to find his classmate, Hyenin, being bullied. The bullies were casually throwing trash at her, ordering her to clean it up. Dae-ho couldn't stand to watch her suffer alone. He walked over and started helping her pick up the mess. Seeing the dorky transfer student coming to her rescue, the bullies ramped up their taunts, calling them names and insinuating a romantic relationship. Dae-ho didn't react, silently continuing to clean up the trash. This simple act of kindness touched Hyenin deeply. Later that afternoon, in class, Dae-ho was still distracted by the weight of the killing. Noticing him staring blankly, the teacher called on him to answer a question, assuming he wouldn't know the answer. Hyenin subtly tried to help him by whispering a hint. They clearly underestimated Dae-ho. 5, he answered correctly. Correct. Very good, the teacher replied. Hyenin found herself even more drawn to her handsome and intelligent classmate. However, their peace was short-lived. After school, Eun-tae and his gang forcibly dragged Hyenin into the science lab. Dae-ho happened to witness the scene. Eun-tae was demanding protection money from her, even snatching the hard-earned tuition money she had saved from her part-time job, showing no mercy. Seeing Hyenin's terrified expression, the bullies' intentions turned even more sinister. Just as they were about to assault her, the door burst open. Dae-ho stood there, taking in the scene and Hyenin's disheveled appearance. He understood instantly what was happening. One of the goons, emboldened by their numbers, tried to intimidate Dae-ho but was swiftly subdued in a matter of seconds. The others charged, but Dae-ho met them head-on, delivering powerful blows that neutralized them one by one. Eun-tae, seeing his crew defeated, tried to attack Dae-ho himself but ended up with a broken hand after a single punch, writhing in pain on the floor. Dae-ho had successfully rescued Hyenin. Overwhelmed by the ordeal, Hyenin burst into tears. After this incident, the classroom atmosphere shifted, becoming much more harmonious. However, Hyenin stopped coming to school. During class one afternoon, Dae-ho was lost in thought, worrying about her. The homeroom teacher walked around the classroom, checking on the students. As he approached each student, they sat up straight. Noticing Dae-ho still daydreaming, the teacher moved to rap him on the head. Dae-ho, reacting instinctively, swiftly caught the teacher's hand. Looking up and realizing it was his teacher, he quickly released his grip. The teacher, flustered and embarrassed, stood up, his face red. After sending Dae-ho out of the classroom as punishment, he hurried to the nurse's office to check for injuries. The other students erupted in laughter. Finally, someone had avenged them. Dae-ho instantly became their hero. At lunchtime, Eun-tae sat in the cafeteria, spoon trembling in his hand, but still talking tough. Just wait until I heal, he muttered. I'll knock his teeth out. The others chimed in, vowing to beat their tormentor so badly even his mother wouldn't recognize him. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. Dae-ho walked into the cafeteria, and the bully's earlier swagger vanished, replaced by a visible tremble. Dae-ho approached Eun-tae, not to fight, but to ask about Hyenin's absence from school. Eun-tae stammered, unable to give a clear answer. With no other option, Dae-ho decided to ask their homeroom teacher for permission to look for her. He walked into the teacher's office and found him nursing a bandaged hand, a stark reminder of their previous encounter. The teacher, startled, quickly pulled his sleeve down, the memory of that day clearly still fresh in his mind. Seeing Dae-ho's request to leave school, he agreed without hesitation. Dae-ho went straight to the cafe where Hyenin worked part-time, only to learn she had quit. He thought he might never see her again, but on his way home that day, a familiar figure caught his eye. It was Hyenin withdrawing from school. She had found a new job, a part-time position at a dance studio. Turned out Hyenin had always dreamed of dancing. Every time she passed the school's dance studio, she'd admire the girls inside. To secure the job, she needed a guardian signature, and she asked Dae-ho to sign as her older brother. Despite his need to maintain his undercover identity, Dae-ho signed. Hyenin's passion for art reminded him of his own younger sister back in North Korea, who also loved the arts. But she was under constant surveillance, a pawn in the North Korean government's scheme to coerce Dae-ho into his mission in the South. Reuniting with his sister was his primary motivation, the driving force behind completing his assigned tasks. Even his supposed parents in the South were undercover North Korean agents. That evening, Dae-ho walked Hyenin home under the shared shelter of an umbrella. Having a kind presence beside her made her secretly happy. However, Dae-ho felt nothing romantic towards her, seeing her only as a younger sister. As they talked, he learned more about Hyenin's difficult life. Her parents had died when she was young, and she'd been struggling to survive on meager part-time earnings ever since. The next day, determined to complete his mission quickly, Dae-ho followed the lead from his previous encounter to a butcher shop. Under the threat of Dae-ho's gun, the butcher cooperated, revealing the traitor's identity, Dipper, identified by his license plate number, and begging for his life. But his pleas were a ruse. In the next instant, he lunged at Dae-ho with a meat hook. Dae-ho reacted quickly, using a slab of pork to deflect the hook before swiftly subduing the butcher. Armed with the license plate number, Dae-ho tracked down Dipper's car and set up an ambush. Dipper soon appeared, and Dae-ho tailed him on his motorcycle, waiting for the right moment to strike. A red light presented the perfect opportunity, but Dipper wasn't easily fooled. He sensed the danger and, as Dae-ho drew his gun, floored the gas pedal. Dae-ho's shot shattered the car window. Luckily, another shot hit the rearview mirror, followed by one that punctured a tire. Dipper's car swerved wildly, losing control before crashing into a roadside barrier. Dae-ho pulled on his hat and approached the wrecked vehicle. Dipper, trapped inside, was helpless. But as Dae-ho prepared to draw his gun for the final act, he noticed a crowd gathering, their phones capturing the scene. To avoid blowing his cover, Dae-ho had to walk away. But Dipper had taken note of him. That night, Dipper led his men straight to Dae-ho's base, where they found his undercover parents. Without a word, Dipper's men stormed in. Dipper interrogated Dae-ho's mother, demanding to know the location of the goods, pressing her about a safe, and offering her a chance to live. It turned out both sides were after the same prize, a cache of diamonds valuable enough to fuel any political ambition. After obtaining the combination to the safe, Dipper coldly executed her. Upstairs, Dae-ho's father, oblivious to the unfolding danger, listened to music through his headphones. When he encountered Dipper, he too was shot dead. Dipper's men left with the diamonds, while Dipper himself settled onto the sofa, waiting for Dae-ho's return. Dae-ho arrived home soon after, finding the bodies. He instantly understood what had happened. This time it was personal. He had to finish Dipper. Ripping open his shirt, he charged. Dipper, without a word, flipped a table and met Dae-ho's attack with a flurry of punches, which Dae-ho easily deflected. Dipper's enraged blows shattered glass but couldn't land a solid hit. Every attack was expertly neutralized. Dae-ho had a powerful motivation. His sister, waiting for him back in North Korea. Round after round, Dipper's attacks proved futile. Realizing he was outmatched in hand-to-hand combat, he pulled a gun. Dae-ho reacted swiftly, grabbing Dipper's wrist. Although he managed to disarm Dipper, the struggle sent them crashing against the wall, where Dipper unleashed a barrage of punches. In a desperate move, Dae-ho grabbed a nearby cord, flipped backward, and tightened it around Dipper's neck. Dipper gasped for air, then pulled a hidden knife, turning the tables once again. Dae-ho dodged the blade, narrowly avoiding injury. In a moment of improvisation, he used a beer can to block the knife. After a brief struggle, Dae-ho wrestled the knife away and swiftly delivered 2 decisive blows, ending the fight. Though victorious, Dae-ho was badly injured. The sight of his undercover parents, killed because of him, filled him with guilt. He knew his identity and location were compromised. To eliminate any trace of his presence, he cut the gas line and placed the bloody weapons in the microwave before escaping on his motorcycle. Moments later, the house erupted in flames. The inferno quickly attracted the attention of the authorities, who cordoned off the scene. Despite the destruction, the police found clues amongst the debris, including Dae-ho's name on a piece of his uniform. Using this information, they quickly uncovered his true identity as a North Korean agent. Knowing he couldn't stay, Dae-ho went to his designated contact point for extraction. He found the elderly woman who served as his handler, but she collapsed soon after, succumbing to his injuries. Thanks to the woman's care, Dae-ho recovered quickly. Just when he thought he could finally return home, a mysterious package arrived. Inside was his final mission: retrieve the stolen diamonds. His superiors promised that completing this task would guarantee his reunion with his sister. Without hesitation, Dae-ho agreed, unaware that this mission, too, would be a near-death experience. Following the intelligence provided, Dae-ho arrived at the diamond exchange location. Using a silenced pistol, he quickly eliminated the 2 guards, but was unfortunately detected. The diamond exchange was abruptly halted. One of the remaining men went to investigate, but Dae-ho was nowhere to be seen. Just as everyone stood dumbfounded, a grenade suddenly landed amidst the group. A deafening explosion followed, killing 2 of the leaders instantly. One of their men grabbed a briefcase and ran. Knowing Dae-ho was nearby, he desperately sought refuge in the factory's ductwork. However, Dae-ho quickly spotted him. Before heading home to complete his mission, Dae-ho bought fruit for his sister and a sweater for the elderly woman who had cared for him, thanking her for her kindness. After bidding farewell to the woman, he visited Hyenin, saying a final goodbye as a friend. Dae-ho arrived at the extraction point. His contact told him that, all things going well, he'd be having breakfast in Pyongyang the next morning. Dae-ho thought he would finally be reunited with his sister. He celebrated too soon. In the next moment, the contact stabbed him. Dae-ho, fighting through excruciating pain, managed to overpower his attacker. He couldn't understand why a fellow countryman would betray him. The contact explained that Dae-ho was naive. No agent ever returned to North Korea alive. The truth finally dawned on Dae-ho. From the moment they left, North Korean agents were expendable pawns, destined to be eliminated either by the enemy or by their own country. He now understood his own father's fate. His father had been assassinated on his way home after completing a mission. Left with no choice, Dae-ho killed the contact. He couldn't believe his loyalty had been repaid with such callous betrayal. Unable to return home, he dragged himself, wounded, to the elderly woman's stall, seeking answers. But when he arrived, he found the area surrounded by police. The woman's cover had been blown too. Seeing Dae-ho in the crowd, she yelled at him to run. She was arrested. The police chief, turning and noticing Dae-ho's distraught face in the crowd, sensed something was amiss and gave chase. But Dae-ho managed to escape. Knowing he was trapped, with nowhere left to turn, Dae-ho sought refuge at Hyenin's apartment. Thanks to her timely care, he survived. Hyenin, meanwhile, learned Dae-ho's true identity from news reports. Despite this, she chose not to report him to the police. She knew he wasn't a bad person. Understanding he was an agent only because of his sister, she decided to let him stay and recover. The next day, while grocery shopping, Hyenin ran into the police chief. He was looking for her, knowing she must have information about Dae-ho's whereabouts. Loyal to her friend, she feigned ignorance. Meanwhile, the North Korean leadership had brought Dae-ho's sister to the south, determined to retrieve the diamonds. Dae-ho received a call from his superiors. They ordered him to exchange the diamonds for his sister's life. Dae-ho's heart sank. His sister was his only family. He had to protect her. Early the next morning, he took the diamonds to the designated meeting point. The sound of his motorcycle engine woke Hyenin. A wave of unease washed over her. Fearing for Dae-ho's safety, she contacted the police chief for help. At the meeting point, Dae-ho finally saw his sister, the person he had longed to see for so long. Completely unaware that he was walking into a trap, Dae-ho prepared to hand over the diamonds. The moment he did, he would be shot. Just as the situation reached a critical point, a gunshot rang out. The police chief's men had arrived, saving Dae-ho's life. Taking advantage of the ensuing firefight, Dae-ho chased after the car carrying his sister, but he couldn't outrun the vehicle. Just as he feared losing her again, a wave of police cars arrived, intercepting the kidnappers and securing his sister's safety. Relieved, Dae-ho slipped away. He thought, as an agent, his ordeal was finally over. He was wrong. The relentless organization now targeted Hyenin. That night, Dae-ho received another threatening call. He was told to deliver the diamonds or his only friend, Hyenin, would be the next victim. Dae-ho knew Hyenin was in danger because of him. He had to end this once and for all. Before setting out, he called the police chief, leaving his phone by the door so they could track his location. Then, he headed to the meeting point alone. Dae-ho carefully surveyed the scene. After confirming Hyenin's safety, he pulled out the diamonds and tossed them into the air. As everyone scrambled for the gems, he shot one of the men but found himself quickly outnumbered and outgunned. He took a bullet in the shoulder. Forced to retreat, he used the room where Hyenin was held as cover, returning fire. But the enemy's superior numbers were overwhelming. After a brief exchange, he was pinned down. Spotting a gas canister nearby, Dae-ho threw a pre-planted explosive towards it. Shielding Hyenin, he detonated the charge. A fiery blast erupted, taking down several of the agents. They thought they had escaped the chaos, but as they fled, Dae-ho was tackled. An assassin pinned him to the ground. Hearing police sirens approaching, Hyenin fought back. The North Korean leader regained consciousness and aimed his weapon, but the police chief arrived just in time. However, Dae-ho turned his gun on the police chief, declaring he could never return to his homeland. He would die to ensure his sister's freedom. He spun around and shot the North Korean leader. After a brief exchange of gunfire, both men fell. Hyenin watched in horror. The police chief rushed to Dae-ho's side and sped towards the hospital. En route, Dae-ho, using his last breaths, repeatedly whispered his sister's name. Even in death, his priority was her safety. He succumbed to his wounds. As the camera pulled back, life went on. In a touching epilogue, Hyenin took on the responsibility of caring for Dae-ho's sister, bringing the grieving girl into her life, protecting her like a true older sister. They would support each other, carrying on Dae-ho's unfinished legacy of caring. The film ends here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss other movie breakdowns.